So if you're on this review and you're watching it, you've probably already watched a bunch of other content about this. And so I wanted to do a review for this camera from a perspective of a wedding filmmaker. And I want to kind of tell you what I love about this camera and of course address the elephant in the room with this camera, which is its overheating problems. And give you my honest opinion on why I think on one hand, this is the best camera I have ever used, kind of by a pretty wide margin, and it does things that I've never been able to do with my cameras. And on another hand, I really can't use it for a lot of weddings. When I heard about this camera and I was talking to the people at Lumix about it, I literally just kept thinking, this is everything I've ever wanted in a camera. And in fact, we bought 4 of them. We didn't get this for free from Lumix. And I have to tell you, as a wedding filmmaker, especially if you want to work in the high-end and luxury space, and you really need to turn over a lot of types of content in a lot of different formats, vertical, horizontal, 4x5, shooting it all on one camera, this camera has literally changed our lives in only a month or 2. Let me just give you some basic specs of the camera. I'm not going to be getting into all the specs. It's not a super technical review because this camera's been out for a little more than a month now, and a lot of other people have already done this. I encourage you to go check out like Gerald Undun's video on this camera if you want to know all the nerd specs, but I'll give you a basic overview. We're talking like up to 6K with ProRes RAW internal if you're using the CFast Express B slot, improved autofocus, like 15 stops of dynamic range, one of the few cameras on the market that also is doing full frame 60p. I think it's like the first Lumix camera that's doing full frame 60p. It has 32-bit float recording built in, which it's even got this awesome tilt out and flip out screen. The camera body style is very similar to the S1II, maybe a little chunkier, a little bigger, but not significantly. The big showstopper on this camera, which we're gonna talk about, is the 5.1K 60p open gate recording. If you don't know what open gate means, it's basically records the entire sensor, not the 16:9 crop, the whole image. 5.1K, so you can crop and you can use it in a 4K timeline. 60p, so you can slow it down, you can use slow motion and a lot of these things. In weddings, that's the name of the game, which is you need resolution, you need good color, and you need the ability to shoot 60p because a lot of the situations we're in, slowing down is very advantageous. This camera is like a content machine. We are able to make so much content with it. The fact that the dynamic range is so incredible is like even a bigger bonus because I was pretty happy with the S1IIs. This is even better. I mean, this image is beautiful. Look at this. It looks incredible. All those features are great, but let's talk about what we care about the most. And I think this is where the price comes in. The Lumix S1II is around $3,200, and it's got all these awesome features, the open gate 60p, the internal ProRes RAW, great stabilization, a few things that really it clearly wins on. The Sony FX3 though is around $3,900. Now, while it has great autofocus and low light, it doesn't have some of those other things. And maybe that matters to you, maybe it doesn't, but it is a lot more money. I honestly have no idea what they're getting off with that Canon R5 Mark II charging $4,300 for this just to shoot 8K, which really no one's gonna do. All that being said, you got to pick what's good for you, and your systems might vary and you might have certain preferences. None of this stuff is just a straight up like, clearly this is the best camera. But I think it's hard to deny that the Lumix S1II is not only packed with features and incredible, but a ridiculously good value, especially when you compare it to the Sony FX3 and the Canon R5 Mark II. From a utility and an artistic standpoint, the S1II just knocks it out of the park. I've never ever used a better camera in my entire life, and I'm a huge, huge fan. So let's talk about the elephant in the room though, the overheating. I'm sure you've seen the videos about this, and I hate to say it, they're totally true. And I hate to say it, I really hate to say it, because in reality, what I want to say to all of you is go buy this camera. It's going to revolutionize your life, and it's going to really, really revolutionize the way content is captured at weddings. But it's got this fatal flaw. And the fatal flaw is it overheats like I've never had a camera that overheats like this camera. And the problem is, for the first month and a half of using it, we weren't in situations where the problem reared its ugly head. And so I started seeing reviews and where they're mentioning the overheating. And to be honest, I was like, whatever, they're full of it. Like, you always have to mitigate thermals in your camera. And to be honest, with this camera, I'm not surprised it would overheat a little. It's doing things that no camera that is on the market can do and better. And so I remember shooting a wedding, open gate, autofocus on, E-stabilization on, 60p of course, and it overheated right after the bride walked down the aisle, and I was like, we can't have all those features on. That's a compromise I'm pretty much willing to make, which is, there are situations where you just can't roll super long, and you need to just watch your thermals, especially if you're going to be using all those features. That was until I tested it. All right, guys, so we are here and we are running a thermal test on the S1II. This is a really, really perfect day for it. I mean, we're talking weather-wise, 88 degrees and full sun, and it's, a very typical summer wedding kind of weather. And so I figured this is a great time to test. So what we did, we set all these cameras to the exact same settings, 4K 60, 200 MBS, autofocus. They are all set to the cropless E-stabilization mode with E-stabilization on. They have the same lens on them with one key difference. 2 of these cameras have SD cards in them, and 2 of them have CFast Express B cards in them. None of them have dual cards, and none are dual recording. So that's our setup, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's see how long this thing lasts, full sun. So I'm gonna turn it on in front of all you guys. All these cameras have been outside at the exact same time in a temperature controlled space. And now, record, 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 record. And as you can see, the cameras all died somewhere around 7.5 to 8.5 minutes at 60p. So, we went inside and we tested them 60p inside. They ran until they ran out of batteries. So it's definitely the heat outside that's the problem. So the next thing that came into my head is, well, okay, what if we do 24? What if we do 4K 24p with autofocus on? So we went outside and tested them. It went anywhere from 20 to 22 minutes. That's kind of unacceptable performance. But I thought in my head, okay, what if I turn off the autofocus? And basically, we turned off autofocus, we turned off E-stabilization, we turned off every single feature that you could turn off essentially. And we brought it back outside and recorded the same. And again, it was the same performance. So once I brought this inside, this took about 3 minutes to cool down. So of course that matters because that's downtime. So let's see if the ones outside even are ever gonna cool down, because there are situations where maybe you can't get out of the sun or out of the heat. And so yeah, let's check it out. Just just summoned it outside by the dumpster. Oh, look at this piece of crap. This camera doesn't even work. It's where it belongs. I'm a Sony user, and this thing is garbage. It's overheated. It's literally hot garbage. Buy the trash. But oh, it's shade, so we put it in the shade. So this one, after about 2 minutes in the shade, cooled down, and it's back in operation. And I'm assuming this is going to be SD card. And yes, it is. And this one, in the sun, with a CFast Express card, I'm assuming will melt sooner than it will ever actually cool down. So, okay. As much as I think this camera is so amazing, I have to be honest that if you are not in a position where you can afford to have multiple cameras on sticks, and some of them are not S1IIs, by the way, which kind of sucks. Imagine doing a 4-camera ceremony with S1IIs and every single one of them in the middle of the heat turns off. And it was only 86 degrees out. Some of you guys are filming weddings in 100-degree weather. I just can't recommend that unless you have major resources, or you're shooting in more of a highlight style where you're shooting a little bit, not shooting. But if you gotta put this thing on sticks and you're gonna be in the sun, it's just gonna overheat. There's nothing you can do about it. Until a camera can pretty much make it through something, at least in 24p, I don't think you can use it as a primary camera and depend on it at a wedding. Since my first issue with this camera, I've shot 2 additional weddings in the heat of July in New England. In both of them, we had overheating issues. If you don't have a bunch of other cameras, it's just not gonna work for you. But if you do, if you have maybe a bunch of other Lumix cameras or cameras that you love, and you're just looking to add like an A cam that you shoot handheld, because again, this is Lumix with the best stabilization in the world. This camera is amazing. It is incredible, but you can't depend on it in hot weather. And unless you have other options, I wouldn't only rely on it. To be fair to Lumix, a lot of cameras have had this issue. The R5 when it first came out by Canon, the Sony A7 IV had this overheating issues. So I'm not like overly concerned for the long term, although who knows. I do want to give them a chance to fix it via firmware updates or things like that. But until they do, I just can't recommend this for a lot of wedding filmmakers. And so who would I recommend it for? If you're shooting weddings that require you to make a lot of content and you have a lot of other cameras, especially if you're a Lumix shooter and you already have a good amount of L lenses, this camera is going to be an amazing addition to your rig as a gimbal cam or as like a highlight A cam. If you are needing this for primary coverage on sticks and you live in a hot weather environment like Florida or a lot of California, Arizona, Texas, or somewhere international where you're gonna be in a lot of heat and a lot of full sun, I just can't recommend it. I just have to be honest and tell you, like, I did a lot of testing. I have 4 of them. The testing was consistent across all 4. I've used it at like 20 real weddings, and me and my team, of course, and I've seen the problem in real life. I know how to work around it. For me, it's not a big issue. For me, I still use it and I'm gonna keep using it, and I really, really love it. And I think if you aren't in the situation where you need it to perform in a certain way, where you need to be rolling a really long time and you maybe are in hot heat, full sun, it's the best camera ever. It is so good. But if you're in a situation where you need to be rolling in high heat, I just don't think you can get it, especially if you don't have a bunch of extra cameras. That kind of breaks my heart, guys, because honestly, when I find something awesome, I like to share it with people. And I was really, really psyched on this camera for a really long time, and I still am, but I gotta admit, it's kind of dampened my, my enjoyment of it a little bit. Because when I tell people like, hey, it's really awesome, but it can't record 4K 24. You have to decide for yourself. Do you feel like you can manage the thermals? Do you want that 5.1K open gate frame? Do you want the ability to just have that infinite vertical and horizontal cropping? Do you want the 15 stops of dynamic range? Do you want the incredible autofocus and this really great screen and the amazing codecs and the ProRes RAW internal and all these things? By the way, they all add thermal when you use the features, so there's that. Or do you need a camera that's just consistent and reliable, sitting in the heat and not overheating? If you, like me, are like, I'll take the bad with the good because the good is so good. There's no other camera on the market that can even close to compete, by the way. This does things that no other camera can do. But you have to decide, who are you and how do you want to use the camera? And I imagine for a lot of us, especially in the wedding industry, this is going to find a place in our kit because the benefits are so overwhelming. But I would just say tread carefully and make sure if you are planning to use it, maybe get an umbrella or something and just manage the thermals very carefully. And if you do, I promise you, you're gonna have one of the most beautiful images, one of the best shooting experiences, and of course the files are incredible to work with in post. And it might just change your business the way it's changed mine. So hopefully you enjoyed that really weird review where I said it's the best and the worst thing that's ever existed for weddings. And what's your experience with the S1II? Do you buy it yourself? Do you like it? Do you want to buy it? Are you willing to give Lumix a chance to fix it? Let me know in the comments because I have no idea. I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you my experience as a wedding filmmaker, how I've been using the camera, what I've been loving, and of course, the major issue, the overheating. In more ways than one. This camera is pretty hot. Subscribe, like, do all the YouTube stuff. We'll see you later on Wedding Film School. And of course, check out our second channel, Wedding Film 101, if you want to learn tips and tricks on how to become a wedding filmmaker. Have a great day, guys.